All right, let's get right into it. So imagine if you had to start completely from scratch today. Warren Buffett actually suggests you should probably just ignore about 90% of the financial advice floating around online. Seriously. And it's not even because it's completely wrong, but because it totally misses the actual foundation. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack this really fascinating framework. It's derived straight from his 93 years of living, building, and observing the markets. I mean, he's watched billionaires crash and burn and high earners end up with literally nothing. And here's the kicker. It wasn't because of recessions or bad markets or even just bad luck. It was because of these invisible beliefs they never even questioned. We call these the 5 silences of structural wealth. I mean, have you ever actually wondered why most lottery winners are completely broke within 5 years? Or why professional athletes, guys making more in a single season than most of us will see in a lifetime, just end up filing for bankruptcy? It's so easy to just blame bad investments, right? But the real answer has absolutely nothing to do with bad luck or a lack of financial education. The truth? The answer is hiding in these internal, invisible traps that people carry around inside their own minds. Let's uncover the very first one.
Secret number 1, the compound interest of trust. So, your absolute greatest financial asset? It's actually not your money. It's not your stock portfolio, your income, your raw intelligence, or your network. It is, without a doubt, your reputation. Honestly, failing to protect this one single asset has caused more brilliant people to lose more money than any market crash in modern history. Because reputation isn't just some fluffy social concept to make you feel good, it is a literal compounding machine. Think about it. Every time you keep your word, even when it costs you money, your reputation grows. Every time you walk away from a shady deal, even when the temptation is staring you right in the face, it silently compounds. But man, the opposite is just devastatingly true. Brilliant people will have this one quiet moment of moral laziness, right? Like one handshake with someone they totally knew they shouldn't trust just because the short-term cash looked way too good. And that single decision doesn't just cost them a deal. It literally permanently ends their access to every future opportunity. The phone just stops ringing. Your wallet can always be refilled, but your reputation, once it's broken, it's almost never fully restored. You have to guard it fiercely.
Secret number 2, the identity trap. Believe it or not, most people do not actually have a money problem. They have an identity problem. Look, from the moment we're old enough to absorb the culture around us, we are trained to believe that success looks like a very specific car, a specific house, or a specific lifestyle, right? All broadcasted for validation. We're essentially trained to measure our self-worth by what we consume. And that creates this massive trap of displaying wealth versus actually deploying wealth. Most people stay stuck because the moment they earn more, they immediately spend more just to prove they earned it. The money comes in one door and walks right out the other because they are, quite literally, living to spend. On the flip side, structurally wealthy people, they spend to live. Think about Buffett himself. He has lived in the exact same house in Omaha since 1958. He bought it for $31,500. Now, people are always so confused by this, but that confusion is exactly the point. He doesn't measure his worth by what he owns. He measures it by what he's built. His values have just never required a display.
As the saying goes, money is not something to be displayed, it is something to be deployed. The difference between those two words is the entire game. The genuinely, generationally wealthy get way more satisfaction from looking at a compound interest statement than they ever would from buying some luxury item just to impress people who don't even really care.
Secret number 3, the danger of loud emotions. Think about your doctors, lawyers, or engineers, people who solve these enormously complex, high-stakes problems with absolute precision. Yet one market dip, one red number flashing on a screen, and suddenly all of that towering intelligence just completely vanishes. They panic, and they let these older, much louder emotions take over. During a market crash, when stocks effectively go on sale and rational data says, hey, it's a buying opportunity, what do most people actually do? They feel the pain, they panic, and they sell at the absolute worst possible moment. So you have to build a system to protect yourself from your own panic. And here is a highly actionable process to do exactly that. It's called the 72-hour rule. Before you make any major financial decision, whether that's selling a stock, taking on debt, or making a huge purchase, step 1 is to physically write out every piece of your reasoning on paper. Step 2, close the notebook, walk away, and wait a full 72 hours. Then, step 3, read it again once your emotional temperature has cooled down. If it still makes logical sense, then proceed. Look, emotions aren't evil, but in finance, they are a terrible advisor. The goal here isn't to be some robot with no feelings. It's to build a concrete process so your emotions never ever get the final vote.
Secret number 4, the invisible software.
We all run on this invisible software. It's this subconscious programming that we inherited almost always back in childhood about what money will do to you if you actually get it. This acts as your wealth thermostat. It's an unconscious belief that invisibly regulates your financial temperature. And the crazy thing is, no matter how much money flows into your life, if your thermostat is set low, it's going to quietly kick in and pull you right back down. This is exactly why people self-sabotage right at the edge of a major breakthrough. They freeze up because growth requires risk. Or maybe they hoard it in places where it can't grow because they're terrified of losing it. Or they spend it instantly just to avoid the anxiety of holding on to it. Deep down, they might have been taught that wealthy people are greedy or corrupt, and they just don't want to become that. So they pull back, and they'll blame the timing, or they'll say it just didn't feel right. But honestly, that's not logic. That is the thermostat talking. So how do we fix this? Well, you have to audit your financial past. You need to just sit quietly and ask yourself, what did the adults around you teach you about money before you were even old enough to push back? What kind of things did you overhear at the dinner table? And most importantly, are those beliefs actually true? Or are they just a thermostat set by someone else's fear? Remember, money is really just stored value, stored time, and stored human effort. When you create value in the world, money naturally moves towards you. Doing just one honest hour of self-inquiry like this is literally worth more than any hot stock tip you are ever going to receive. Finally, secret number 5, the war for your mind. Now, this one is completely counterintuitive, but it is absolutely the single greatest difference maker when it comes to building generational wealth. Your single greatest wealth building tool is not your portfolio, it's not your side hustle, and it's definitely not your credit score. It is your attention. Think about it. Right now, the most sophisticated algorithms in human history are basically at war to harvest it. Every notification, every perfectly calibrated social feed is purposely designed to make you anxious, outraged, or endlessly entertained. Their one and only goal is to capture your attention and sell it to advertisers. And every single hour they win that war, you lose the capacity to build lasting wealth. 500. That is the approximate number of pages Warren Buffett reads every single day, and he has for his entire adult life. We're talking annual reports, financial statements, business histories, biographies, the whole shebang. People are constantly asking for his secret proprietary edge, but the honest truth is far less dramatic. He just pays attention to things that most people couldn't be bothered with, and he does it for longer than anyone else is willing to sustain. Building real wealth absolutely requires deep reading, patient observation, and undistracted thinking. You just cannot grow exceptional financial judgment in a mind that requires a new hit of algorithmic stimulation every 30 seconds just to stay engaged. There is a direct, unbreakable chain reaction at play here between what you pay attention to today and your financial future. It goes like this. What you read and focus on today becomes exactly how you think next year. How you think next year dictates the patterns and opportunities you're able to recognize the year after that. And those opportunities that you actually act on, those are what build the wealth you'll live with for the rest of your life. It all starts with fiercely, ruthlessly protecting your attention. And that brings us to the final choice. When you synthesize 93 years of experience, success, and observation, it doesn't culminate in some crazy, complex trading algorithm. It really comes down to these internal silences. These are the unbreakable foundations that literally no recession or market crash can ever take away from you. Let's recap. Your reputation compounds silently for decades. Your identity shifts so that actually building real value becomes infinitely more satisfying than just showing it off. You rely on a solid process to cool your emotions down before making a single financial choice. You take back control of your beliefs, examining them instead of just running on inherited fear. And you ruthlessly protect your attention from the machines built to harvest it. Together, these frameworks are the absolute bedrock of structural wealth. Look, most people are going to leave this explainer and immediately go looking for a fast stock tip or a shiny new app, just jumping right back into the noise. But if you truly want to build structural wealth, you have to ask yourself one final question. Are you controlling your financial thermostat, or are you letting someone else's fears and algorithms set the temperature for the rest of your life? In the war for your mind, maybe it's time to choose silence.